Hi, this is Matthew again. Today I want to present a video by Glen Beck who will tell us more about who we are fighting against. Originally, he believed that we were fighting Marxist, communist, or socialist. However, in this video, he talks about the real enemy as the elites. This is an important video because we need to understand who we are fighting against and who our real enemies are. He also talks about the goals of the elites and how one of our goals was initially education. Watch as he explains who we are fighting against. Take out your notebooks to write down some notes as Glen discloses the enemies that we are fighting.
Because most people don't actually know what they're fighting against. And let me show you on the chalkboard. Most people, when I first started tracking all of this after 2011 and then to 2008, I always thought we were fighting against the Marxists, these old 1960s revolutionaries who now infiltrated our education and our government and were doing all kinds of things that only Marxists were doing. And I talked to you about that on Fox over and over again. These are Marxists. Look at this Marxist. Look at this Marxist. The Marxists are nothing more than, they're useful idiots. That's what they are. They're useful idiots. They think they're going to be in charge. They're not going to be in charge. The rest of us think that Democrats and Republicans, that's what the real fight is about. Now, Republicans are a little closer to the truth because they say you have the rhinos, and the rhinos are really Democrats, okay? But that's not exactly right. So what is actually happening? Because the Republicans, the Democrats, the revolutionists, the Marxists, we're all useful idiots. They're keeping us fighting. Now, let me show you. Here's the goal. The goal is, in the 1950s, the goal is to have educated workers. We had cheap energy and we had educated workers. And so we were sending people to college, especially after World War II, like never before. And in fact, it was very unusual for people to go to college outside of their home region or their home area. We weren't going and sending people all across the country and the world. What was happening was people would go to college and they would have their high school sweetheart and they would marry their high school sweetheart, and there was a balance of the elite and the non-elite. Okay? Well, that broke down. We don't have that anymore. So now, husband meets wife at university. They both have a college degree. They now have the same political ideals. And that leaves the educated workers kind of behind if they don't have the elite education. I'll explain that here in a second. What happened is education became our God, not our goal. You had to have that piece of paper. You had to have it or you couldn't get a job. Your life was over. You didn't go there. You can't do anything. That's untrue. The universities churned out scientists, industrial leaders, educators, political leaders, and tech, except tech was kind of off on its own space because a lot of the tech people said, I'm not going. But they hang out with all of these people, and they hire a lot of people that are eggheads. So you have the elites and the super elites. Now, this is from a poll that was just taken and released, and it's fascinating. The elites are people that make $150,000 a year and have at least one post-graduation degree. So you have, a master's in something, or you have a doctorate. You have at least one postgraduate degree. The super elites are the same, except they've gone to Harvard or Yale or any of the Ivy Leagues. That's the only difference between the elites and the super elites. So they were asked some questions along with the worker, you. If you didn't go to Yale or Harvard, make $150,000 a year, you didn't get at least one postgraduate degree, then you were asked the same questions. And they were questions of, should we be rationing gas? Should we be rationing energy? Should we be rationing food? Should we restrict meat, cars, air travel? And do Americans have too many freedoms? Here's what they found. 70 to 90% of the elites and the super elites, and the super elites were always up in the 80s and 90s, 70 to 90% say yes to all of those. When they asked you, 16 to 20% of the non-elites said, yeah, we should do this. So you've already solved, the elites have. They've already solved, we're getting rid of gas. And in fact, if we're going to put everybody on electricity, not even natural gas, and we're going to probably have to ration that at some point, but that's fine. Oh, and food, we have to redesign the whole food industry from seed to fork. And people are not going to eat meat anymore. They're not going to have cars. If they want frivolous air travel for like a vacation, no non-essential air travel. And they have too many freedoms, and the government knows best. That's what they actually believe. They're not Marxists. Why? Because they're in science and industry, education. They're leaders of countries and companies. They're designing a whole new world, one where migration plays a really big role. Why? I'll get there here in a second. So, you are sitting out here all by yourself, and you don't agree with anything. Does it ever feel like, why doesn't somebody talk to us about this? They don't need you, and you're becoming even less important. But in 2008, what was one of the first advisors that Barack Obama brought into the White House? It was Cass Sunstein. You know who he is? He is the author of the book Nudge. He's a behavioral scientist. He studies how you get people to do things that you want them to do without them knowing you're doing it to them. They nudge. And I've told you for years, first comes nudge, then comes what? Shove. And then if it doesn't stop there, if you still won't do what they say, it ends in shoot. Well, we were at nudge back in the early 2000s. We're in shove, and I'm afraid we're getting closer and closer to shoot. Why? Because you will not comply. You don't understand, and so you become dangerous to the elite and to their plans. So now they've gone from behavioral scientists to now we have just discovered that with Five Eyes, that's the collective agencies all around the world that do intelligence, they are spying on you in a public-private partnership with our intelligence agencies. They have been turned on you. And not because they think you're really a terrorist. You are a terrorist to them because they believe all these things, and they can get rich off of all of these things. They'll be the rancher, you'll be the cattle. So they had behavioral science, but that wasn't enough. Now with AI, we've entered the era of cognitive security, where they'll know exactly, because of AI, what you think, who you talk to, and how to change your mind. That is currently being done by the elites in this administration, in this government, and governments all around the Western world. I shouldn't say that. Let's not leave China out of that. Let's talk about AI for just a second. It's going to be smarter than any human on the planet that has ever lived. It will be everywhere. It will watch everything. They, in their arrogance, think they can build this tower to the sky, which will make them gods. But I have a great fear that it doesn't always end the way arrogant people think it ends. But I was just talking to somebody about energy the other day, and I was talking to these people that are way smarter than I am. It was a room full of a bunch of energy experts, and I learned a lot. And one that was that by 2027, AI, just the number crunching for AI, will take 25% of our energy. I don't know if you know this, but We're already close to rolling blackouts. And by the way, you're not seeing it yet, but God help us if we can't turn this around in the next election, because 2025 is the year we really start to feel the impact, and we can go to ration gas and energy. 25% just because of AI. And they're still pushing electric cars, which they know we cannot power. Why? Because when this all happens, wherever you are is where you will remain. Because you're dangerous. And they know it. So you're dangerous. And, worried about, the weaponizing of the DOJ and FBI. Well, isn't that what happened on January 6th? Isn't that what happened to the pro-life people? Why are they doing these things? Why are they saying, if you're against the border, you're a terrorist, you're a dangerous, evil MAGA person? Why are people like me, who, you check my record against the record of anybody in the Biden administration, who is telling the truth? I don't need to beat my own chest. You see it now. Was ESG a conspiracy theory? Was the World Economic Forum a conspiracy theory? Is CBDC a conspiracy theory? Is inflation a conspiracy theory? Is open borders and terrorists coming across our country a conspiracy theory? You answer. I mean, I've got 100 of these things where they said, you got to be silenced, you got to be stopped, you're part of the problem, that have all turned out to be right. So why are people like me, and there's a ton of us, that are just trying to find the truth, why are we silenced? For the same reason you are being frightened. And here's what's crazy. They're not only trying to frighten us, but they also need to frighten the Democrats. They have to shut them down from thinking. So all they see is, Hitler is coming. He's going to make a dictatorship. I got news for you. If Donald Trump tried to become a dictator, half of the country that didn't vote for him, and probably at least a third of those who did, would stand up and say, no, thank you. But you don't see what's actually happening here. The left doesn't see it. The Marxists think it's great. But the Democrats don't see it because they're so freaked out. They have them scared. They have you scared. So you become a useful idiot. And they hope that you will go and do something crazy.
I hope this gives you a better idea of what is happening to us and why. It helps explain what the globalists are planning and what is on the horizon for us. It helps explain why this next election is so important. Glenn explains how AI will be used in the future. We will no longer have privacy. Can you believe AI will use 25% of our energy? Where will this come from? Is it no wonder that our travel will be restricted? I hope it answers some of your questions regarding our leaders and those who oppose them. Watch more of our videos on our Nehemiah Reset website at nehemiahreset.org or our Rumble.com channel. Become an informed voter and gain a better understanding of the Bible. In the meantime, be sure to get out and vote in the next election. I hope to see you again soon on another video. Have a great day.